I was in a white dress, standing on a yacht under the most beautiful sunset I'd ever seen, and I had no idea I was about to be humiliated in the most soul-crushing way possible. Not embarrassed. Not awkward. I'm talking ripped apart, gutted, watching my entire reality shatter right in front of my eyes. I didn't know it yet, but that moment would be the end of the woman I used to be. This wasn't a random date. It wasn't some new guy I just started seeing. It was my boyfriend of 5 years. Daniel. The man who held my hand when my dad died. The man I supported when his business failed and he spiraled into depression. The man I thought would be my husband. We met when I was fresh out of college. I was broke, working 2 jobs and barely surviving. And there he was, charming, funny, smart. He made me feel safe in a way I hadn't felt since I was a child. He listened to me. Held me when I cried. Told me I was special. I remember texting my mom the night after our first date. I wrote, "I think I found the one." We built a life together, piece by piece. I stood by him when he had nothing, when people called him a failure. I cooked, cleaned, and poured everything I had into building him up. So when he told me he'd booked a weekend getaway to the coast, back to the place we first said, "I love you," my heart jumped. I just knew. This was going to be the moment. He was finally going to propose. I told my girls. I got my nails done in a shade called bridal blush. I even asked my best friend Celeste to help me pick out a dress. She was like a sister to me. We'd been through everything together. Bad breakups, worse jobs, family drama. I trusted her with everything. I remember when I showed her the dress, she smiled and said it was beautiful. But her smile didn't quite reach her eyes. At the time I brushed it off. Maybe she was just tired. Maybe she was jealous in a harmless way. But now, looking back, that was the first crack in the glass. When Daniel said Celeste should join the trip because, in his words, "It'll be fun. Just us 3 like old times," I hesitated. But Celeste gave me that sad puppy dog face and said she'd just gone through a breakup and didn't want to be alone all weekend. She said, "Don't make me third wheel sadness at home." So I said yes. As I always say yes. We got on the yacht. It was perfect. Crystal blue water. Warm breeze. Champagne. Laughter. It really did feel like the old days, just the 3 of us. We joked, we danced, we watched dolphins swim alongside the boat. And then, right as the sun started to dip behind the horizon, Daniel said, "Let's go up to the top deck. I have something planned." My heart was pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. I thought, this is it. This is where it happens. I clutched my phone and hit record. My hands were shaking. I couldn't stop smiling. I was about to become someone's fiancé. Finally. And that's when he dropped to one knee. But not in front of me. Not to me. To her. To Celeste. I remember the exact sound that came out of me. It wasn't a scream. It wasn't a cry. It was something in between. A laugh, but broken. A noise I'd never made before. I blinked, confused, thinking maybe it was some twisted joke. But Daniel was holding her hand. Crying. Telling her he'd loved her for years but had been too afraid to admit it. That he couldn't lie to himself anymore. Celeste was smiling. Smiling like she didn't see me standing there, like I didn't exist. Like I hadn't spent years pouring myself into this man. Like I hadn't sat next to her on 1,000 wine-stained nights comforting her over other guys. Like I hadn't bought her that exact white dress she was wearing, just 2 months earlier. They were kissing. Right there. In front of me. On a boat I helped pay for. I couldn't move. I felt frozen. Numb. Not because I was weak, but because something in my brain just stopped functioning. My entire body was in shock. My entire life, gone. I must have stood there for a full minute. Watching. Recording. Not saying a word. And then she turned to me and said, "I didn't mean for it to happen like this." That's when it hit me. They planned this. Together. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I didn't slap anyone. I just looked her in the eye and said, "Delete my number." Then I turned and walked down the deck stairs straight into the cabin. I sat on the edge of the bed, trembling. Not from sadness. But from something else entirely. Rage. You see, they thought I was broken. They thought I'd just go away quietly. But what they didn't know is that I had the footage. Every single moment. The proposal. The kiss. The betrayal. And I had a choice. Burn quietly. Or explode publicly. I didn't sleep that night. I lay there in that cold little cabin, listening to them laugh upstairs like nothing had happened. Every laugh felt like a knife. Every clink of their champagne glasses reminded me I was completely alone. I replayed the moment over and over in my head. The way he looked at her. The way she looked at me. No shame. No hesitation. Just pure selfish satisfaction. They had planned this. They planned to humiliate me. I kept asking myself, why would she do this to me? We shared everything. We grew up together like sisters. I told her every secret, every dream, every fear. She was there the first time Daniel and I kissed. She even helped me pick out the outfit I wore to his birthday just last month. She was smiling in all our pictures, liking my post, commenting things like, wifey material smiling face with heart. And all the while she was sleeping with him. I couldn't cry. I was too empty for tears. But something inside me snapped. Quietly, cleanly, like a frozen branch breaking under pressure. I reached for my phone and watched the video I had recorded. The whole thing. Him on one knee. Her little fake gasp. Their kiss. My voice off camera saying, "Is this a joke?" No, sweetheart. The joke was on me. But not for long. Because the moment I saw that video something clicked. I realized I was holding a weapon. And not just for me, but for everyone who thought they were a golden couple. For everyone who believed their picture-perfect love story. And trust me, they had a lot of believers. Daniel had just started a YouTube channel about relationships. Modern love, he called it. Irony at its finest. He had thousands of followers praising him for his authenticity and emotional maturity. Meanwhile, he was emotionally manipulating two women. Except I hadn't known I was one of them. Celeste was no better. She ran a lifestyle blog about empowerment, constantly posting quotes about women supporting women. What a joke. I sat there with the video playing on a loop and started drafting a post. Just a simple caption. When your boyfriend of 5 years proposes to your best friend, while you're standing right there. I hovered over the post button for a long time. My finger shook. Not because I was scared of the fallout. I was scared of who I'd become after I pressed it. But then I thought of all the nights I cried in front of Celeste about Daniel. The nights she nodded and offered advice, while she was sneaking around behind my back. I thought about the money I loaned him last year to keep his car from getting repossessed. I thought about how they smiled at me that very morning, pretending like I mattered. So I pressed it. And then I turned my phone off. I didn't need to see the reactions. Not yet. I needed a moment to breathe. A moment to feel something other than betrayal. I went out on the deck after midnight. They weren't there. Probably asleep in each other's arms like nothing happened. I stood at the railing staring at the waves below. I didn't want to jump. But I wanted to disappear. Just for a little while. The moon was full and high, casting silver ripples over the black ocean. It looked like it was laughing at me. But then something inside me whispered, "You're not the victim anymore. Not after this." The boat docked in the morning. Daniel came downstairs with a stupid grin holding his phone. "You're gonna regret that post," he said like he still had power over me. I didn't say anything. I just looked him in the eye and smiled. The same way Celeste had smiled at me the night before. He didn't know what that smile meant. But he would. Because by the time we got back to the mainland, my phone had already exploded. The video had been shared by 3 influencers. Comments were flooding in. Screenshots of Celeste's blog and Daniel's YouTube channel were being dragged all over Twitter. People were stitching the clip on TikTok. My DMs were flooded with support, outrage, and other women telling me they had gone through the same thing. And the best part? One of Daniel's brand sponsors. Yeah, he had sponsorships. Announced they were cutting ties. Publicly. The caption read, "We do not support manipulative or deceitful behavior. Our collaboration with Daniel ends effective immediately." Celeste's blog? Heck. Not by me. I don't even know who did it. But someone replaced her homepage with the video and a single line. "This you." She posted an apology. A half-baked, tearless apology in bad lighting, saying it wasn't supposed to happen like that, and we didn't mean to hurt anyone. People weren't buying it. She lost 30,000 followers in 2 days. Daniel posted a video called, "My Side of the Story." It had 12,000 dislikes in the first hour. Me? I didn't post anything else. I didn't need to. I said what I needed to say. The truth was out. I wasn't angry anymore. I wasn't broken. I was free. And I knew this was just the beginning. 3 days after I posted the video, I still hadn't heard a word from Celeste. Not a single message. Not a sorry, not a how could you, not even an angry voice note. It was like she vanished, or was hiding, more like it. But Daniel kept texting. Non-stop. At first he played the victim. He said I'd ruined his life, destroyed his career, that I was acting out of emotion, and making a private moment public. I didn't even respond. I just let him spiral. Let him watch the world react to the same betrayal he tried to brush off as a moment of honesty. His influencer sponsorships dropped like flies. Skincare brand? Gone. That meal prep delivery box he was always bragging about? Cancelled the contract. He lost 2 speaking gigs in the same week. Apparently, companies don't love being associated with serial liars. I could have gloated. I could have posted more receipts. Screenshots. Old messages. There was so much more I could have revealed. But I didn't. Because the silence, it was louder. And honestly, I didn't want revenge anymore. Not in the petty, post a thread and drag them sense. I wanted them to feel exactly what I felt on that yacht. Small. Invisible. Replaceable. I had barely left the house that week, just binge-watching documentaries and ordering cheap takeout, trying to wrap my mind around everything that had happened. The betrayal. The public attention. The flood of women messaging me, telling me their Celeste stories. Their Daniel stories. Turns out I wasn't alone. Not by a long shot. But the one story that stopped me cold came from a girl named Naomi. She messaged me on Instagram. She said, "I just wanted to say, thank you. I saw your video and realized my boyfriend of 4 years had been seeing my best friend behind my back. Your video made me look through his iPad. I found everything. I left him this morning." I just sat there reading that message over and over again. I had been sitting in my pain, stewing in betrayal, thinking I had lost. But I hadn't lost. Not really. I had started a wave. A ripple. And somewhere, someone was breaking free because I decided to press post instead of stay silent. It gave me the tiniest piece of peace. The smallest flicker of power. That same night I finally picked up a call from an old friend, Amina. She'd been blowing up my phone since the video went viral, but I couldn't bring myself to talk to anyone. When I finally did, I felt like I could breathe for the first time. She said, "I always had a weird feeling about Celeste. But I never said anything because I thought maybe I was just being overprotective." I asked her what she meant, and what she told me made my blood run cold. Amina said that 2 years ago she caught Celeste texting her boyfriend. It didn't get far, he shut it down, but when Amina confronted her, Celeste cried, claimed it was just a friendly check-in, and made it seem like Amina was overthinking. I was stunned. I asked, "Why didn't you tell me?" She said, "Because I thought you already knew what she was like, and chose to ignore it." That night I started remembering all the small red flags. The weird comments. The moments she'd throw little jabs about my weight, or how Daniel would never leave me because I was too useful. She always laughed after saying things like that, like it was a joke. I laughed too. But it wasn't funny anymore. I started putting together the pieces. Celeste had always been competitive, but I thought it was harmless. She would copy my outfits, use the same perfume, even started eating the same foods I liked after I introduced her to them. I thought it was flattery. But it wasn't. It was envy. Obsession maybe. She didn't just want what I had. She wanted to be me. And Daniel? He just wanted someone who made him feel powerful. Someone easier to manipulate. Someone who wouldn't hold up a mirror to his mediocrity. Well, he got her. And she got him. But neither of them got me. By the end of that week I made my page private. I wasn't interested in internet fame. I'd said what I needed to say, and I didn't want to relive the trauma through other people's DMs anymore. But the internet doesn't forget. And neither do people. Celeste's influencer friends started unfollowing her. Her engagement dropped. Her brand deal with that fashion line she wouldn't stop bragging about? Gone. Quietly removed her from the site. She tried to recover by posting some vague healing quotes and a few filtered selfies, but people weren't buying it. She went live once. Only once. Tried to do a soft cry, mascara smudged, voice trembling. Said she never meant to hurt anyone. But the comments? Brutal. People weren't here for her performance. They saw through it. They called her a snake. A fake feminist. A friend stealer. And worse. And that's when she did what all exposed people do. She vanished. No more stories. No more posts. Just radio silence. Just like she left me that night on the yacht. Funny how karma moves in circles. 2 weeks passed. It's strange how quickly pain becomes a background noise. It never goes away. It just gets quieter, like a constant hum behind everything you do. You learn to walk with it. You learn to cook with it. You learn to fall asleep with it, even if it still lingers in your dreams. I didn't want to be the girl who got cheated on forever. I didn't want people to look at me and think, that's the one who got proposed to secondhand. So I started taking little pieces of my life back. The first thing I did, I deleted every picture of him from my phone. Even the good ones. The vacations, the birthdays, the stupid selfies we took in bed. Gone. It hurt more than I thought it would. I didn't cry, but my hands were shaking. Deleting those photos felt like erasing 5 years of my life. 5 years of memories. 5 years of loyalty and sacrifice and lies. But once I did it, I felt lighter. Then I did the same for Celeste. And just like that, it was like I could finally see the world in color again. Not gray. Not clouded by what-ifs or regrets. Just clarity. The next thing I did, I started writing again. It might sound small, but I hadn't written anything creative in over a year. Daniel always said it was cute when I wrote, but that it wasn't realistic. He used to say things like, "You're wasting time," or, "Nobody makes money from blogs anymore." But I wasn't writing for money. I was writing for me. For the version of myself that I left behind to build someone else's dream. And people were reading. Strangers from all over the world sending me little comments saying, "I feel this in my bones," or, "This happened to me too." There's something healing about being seen. Something powerful. I remember one night about 3 weeks after the yacht I got an email. It was from a podcast producer. She said she saw my post, read my new blog, and wanted to know if I'd be willing to share my story on air. At first, I almost deleted the email. I didn't want to relive it. I didn't want to be known for that story forever. But something stopped me. Maybe it was the fact that I could tell it in my words this time. Not as the broken woman standing on a yacht watching her world fall apart, but as the woman who survived it. So I said yes. The day of the recording I was terrified. My palms were sweating and I must have restarted my intro 3 times before I finally got the words out. But once I started speaking, it just poured out of me. Bang. The betrayal. The rage. The quiet strife that came after. And the host? She didn't interrupt. She didn't rush me. He just listened. Really listened. After the episode aired, the response was overwhelming. Not just from other women, but from therapists, relationship coaches, people in recovery, people who had been gaslit, abandoned, replaced, discarded. People who needed to know they weren't crazy. That their pain was real. And in that moment something shifted. I wasn't a victim anymore. I was a voice. I never imagined that the most humiliating day of my life would become the foundation for something bigger. I never expected the same pain that nearly broke me to be the thing that connected me to thousands of others. Daniel and Celeste? I hadn't heard from either of them. But I saw them. He tried to start a new channel. Different name, same fake deep advice. But no one was listening. His comments were a ghost town. He'd become just another guy in the algorithm lost in the noise. Celeste tried to bounce back too. She changed her aesthetic. Went darker. More spiritual. Tried to rebrand as some kind of reborn goddess after betrayal. But people remembered. Screenshots live forever. And her name was still connected to mine on every search result. You know what the most ironic part is? They never made it. I mean Daniel and Celeste. The 2 people who broke me into 1,000 pieces. Didn't even stay together. Apparently, they only lasted 2 months after the proposal. Rumor had it she found out he was texting another girl behind her back. I won't lie. When I heard that, I laughed. Not a petty laugh. A deep one. From my belly. Because that's the thing about betrayal. If they do it with you, they'll eventually do it to you. It's not a matter of if, it's when. And when it happens, it hits harder. Because now they know what it feels like. That's karma. And sometimes you don't have to chase it. You just have to heal and watch. 3 months after the yacht incident, I got a message from a woman named Tessa. I didn't recognize the name at first, but the second I opened her message, my jaw dropped. She said, "Hi, I know we don't know each other, but I think we've both been played by the same man." Attached to the message? Screenshots. Texts. Photos. Voice notes. All from Daniel. The timestamps overlapped with the time he was with me, and with Celeste. And not just Tessa. 2 other women came forward over the next week. Women who said he'd been stringing them along, sometimes while he was still posting me as his girlfriend on social media. They'd believed him. Trusted him. One of them even said she thought he was about to propose to her before he suddenly went cold. I sat there stunned. He wasn't just a cheater. He was a full-time manipulator. A professional liar. Running different versions of himself for different women. Saying the same lines, recycling the same compliments, using the same playlist. He was a walking fraud. I wanted to expose him again. Post everything. Drop every screenshot with dramatic music and timestamps. But then I stopped myself. What would it really accomplish? His world was already crumbling. His YouTube channel was dead. No new uploads. Comments full of clown emojis. Sponsorships still gone. He'd gone from relationship coach to social media ghost. Even Celeste had deactivated her accounts. I didn't need to post anything. He was already living in the prison he built. Built from lies, manipulation, and ego. And watching it slowly collapse? That was better than any internet takedown. But the part that truly shook me was what Tessa said at the end of her message. She wrote, "Thank you. If you hadn't posted that video, I would have stayed with him. You saved me." It hit me all at once. This wasn't just revenge anymore. This was justice. This was about women helping women. About pulling each other out of the same traps we've been falling into for centuries. Traps dressed as love. Traps decorated in roses and apologies and Instagram filters. And I knew I couldn't stop. So I pitched an idea to the podcast host who had first interviewed me. A segment called The Undoing, where women could come on anonymously and tell their stories of betrayal, heartbreak, and survival. No shame. No judgment. Just truth. He said yes. And within a week we had a wait list. Women from all over the world, New York, Cape Town, Dubai, Lagos, sending in their stories. Some about partners. Some about sisters. Some about mothers. All of them raw and real and beautiful in their own way. We weren't just crying together. We were healing. And healing loudly. One night, after a particularly emotional episode, I got a message from an old mutual friend of mine and Daniel's. We hadn't spoken in years. She used to be neutral, one of those people who never picked sides. But this message? This one felt different. She said, "Just thought you should know. Daniel's been trying to apply for speaking gigs again. But every time your name pops up in Google next to his, they pass. Keep doing what you're doing." I laughed. Not because I was happy he was failing, but because I didn't have to lift a finger. His own shadow was blocking his way. My story, the truth, had become a wall he couldn't climb over. That's what karma looks like sometimes. It doesn't always arrive with flames and fury. Sometimes it shows up in closed doors. In silence. In opportunities that never call back. And Celeste? Well, she tried to move on too. She posted a few selfies from a retreat trying to look enlightened. She even captioned one, "Letting go is the ultimate revenge." But nobody was listening anymore. Because when you build your platform on someone else's pain, eventually the floor caves in. Me. I was finally sleeping through the night. I was finally waking up without that knot in my chest. I went out with friends again. Real friends. I laughed, not fake forced laughter, but real deep in your stomach kind of joy. I danced to songs that used to make me cry. I looked in the mirror and started seeing me again. Not the broken version. Not the discarded girl from the boat. Not the woman left behind. But the woman who walked away. With her head held high. With her truth in her hands. And her voice louder than ever. I wasn't just surviving anymore. I was living. Fully. Finally. Strange how the people who break you always expect you to stay broken. They think if they shatter you loud enough, publicly enough, you'll just sink into the floor, disappear into shame. But here's what they don't know. Some of us were built for the fire. And once we rise out of it, there's no going back. 6 months after that yacht, I was standing on a different kind of stage. This time at a women's empowerment event. I had been invited as a speaker. Not because I was famous. Not because I had millions of followers. But because my story had touched someone. And that someone told another someone. And eventually my voice made its way into rooms I'd never even dreamed of entering. As I stood there, mic in hand, facing a crowd of strangers who had cried with me, healed with me, and risen with me, I smiled. I told them the whole story. Not just the betrayal. But the resilience. The way I rebuilt my life from ashes. The way heartbreak introduced me to purpose. The way silence gave birth to my power. They clapped. Some cried. One woman hugged me afterward and whispered, "Thank you. I left him because of your story." That moment, that hug, it made everything worth it. Daniel's name? Relevant now. His story stopped growing. Mine kept unfolding. I don't know where he is and I don't care. He became a footnote in a chapter one already turned. Celeste. Last I heard she moved to another city. Tried to start over. Maybe she's changed. Maybe not. But that's not my business anymore. Because you can forgive someone without ever letting them back in. You can heal and still walk away. You can grieve what was while celebrating what's ahead. Me. I'm doing better than ever. I sleep peacefully. I speak boldly. And I love harder but smarter. The girl on that yacht? She died that night. But the woman who stood in her place? She's unstoppable. So to anyone watching this, anyone who's been lied to, used, replaced, betrayed, I see you. That was you. And I need you to know. You are not weak for hurting. You are not crazy for caring. You are not broken for believing in someone who turned out to be a lie. But you will rise. And when you do, they'll hear the thunder in your silence. They'll see the power in your peace. And they'll realize they never broke you. They just gave you a reason to become unforgettable. If this story touched you, if you've ever been betrayed by someone you trusted or had to rebuild yourself from the ashes, don't keep it inside. Hit the like button to show you're rising too. Comment below and tell your story, even if it's just a sentence. You never know who needs to hear it. Share this with someone who might be struggling silently. Someone who needs to know they're not alone. And if you want more true stories like this, raw, emotional, and unfiltered, subscribe and turn on notifications. We're sharing new episodes every single day, and trust me, the revenge, the healing, and the karma only get deeper from here. Your story matters. And this is just the beginning.